What's up, people? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hope you guys are doing well. As you see from the title, it's Zack Snyder and violence. We're going to discuss.
Hope you guys are doing.
And you guys can leave your comments in the comment section. I always said that Zack Snyder actually does not enjoy violence. He actually despises it. And I actually got evidence to support that now. So we'll be checking that out in a minute. You can leave your comments in the chat section, folks. You can leave your comments in the chat section. This is where we're going to explore right now. So I hope everybody had a good day. The day is winding down. I'm getting ready to go to sleep. I want to discuss this topic. Here we go. Going into screen share for a second. Me yawning right there. You know, it's interesting. There's someone on Twitter who keeps on getting more and more footage of the Snyder cut. And he's like, he said, you know, it's interesting that when they find something from VFX or other places of the Snyder cut, Warner Bros. Is going around trying to delete that content as the, you know, it gets exposed, but it's like out on the internet now for eternity and it's going all around Twitter. And one guy who's finding these things, he said, if Warner Brothers doesn't release the Snyder Cut bit by bit, I will release sections of it. I will find it and release it. And he was using actually a quote from General Zod. You know, he said, you know, if Warner Brothers won't give us what is rightfully ours, I will find it. I will reclaim what you've taken from us. And he says, I will find it, WB. And then he finally ends up with, I will find them. Which I found hilarious. I put this little meme together for that. So, yeah. But on the subject of violence, this is what Zack Snyder had to say. He spoke to the director of Forbes. Oh, no. He, as the director, told Forbes that he was merely depicting the real world we live in, which is very true. Like I said, Zack Snyder deals with realism. Snyder said that fans are clinging to the more squeaky clean Superman as depicted by Christopher Reeve in the iconic movies instead of the comic book version of Superman, who wreaked massive damage. I mean, you just go and watch The Adventures of Superman, which is a cartoon, or you go and watch Justice League, and you see the fight sequences, you know, and there's massive damage that happens, okay? So I'm not really quite sure why people cling to this Christopher Reeve Superman, which in my opinion is much more lame. Just watching him fight and stuff. But anyway, this is what Zack Snyder literally had to say here. The thing I was surprised about in response to Superman was how everyone clings to the Christopher Reeve version of Superman, he told Forbes. How tightly they cling to those ideas, not really the comic book version, but more the movie version. If you really analyze the comic book version of Superman, he's killed. He's done all the, you know, I guess the rules that people associate with Superman in the movie world. All the things in the comic books. I guess the rules that people associate with Superman in the movie world are not the rules that really apply to him in the comic book world, because those rules are, and I don't know what's behind that. He's done all the things and more that we should have shown him doing, right? And he's right. I mean, comic book Superman, he's killed, he's wreaked damage. You know, when they fight, it's an epic event. You know, he's had conflict where he has forsaken mankind also, and so many other things. I mean, but it's several comic books we're talking about over the span of several comic books, from the golden age to the present time. Superman has done many different things. So there are many different iterations of him. And thanks to Imran Hussein, he sent me a YouTube video that you can check out, which is, look for the title, Myths About Zack Snyder. Okay. And one of the myths is that he doesn't get Superman, so you can check that out. But he doesn't get comic book characters, period. And it's just very interesting that this actual quote is very intriguing. But that's not what I wanted to actually speak to you guys about. There was actually a quote, which I don't have now, I realize, on Zack Snyder speaking about the violence in these worlds. Let me see if I can find that video. Hey, Dave Ethan. Shout out to you, Dave Ethan. Hope you're doing well today. Let me see if I can find that now. It's going to be hard to find, but I may be able to retrieve it if I go into Facebook. I have to go into Facebook and actually retrieve that video. I didn't realize that I had the wrong quote. All kinds of crazy things happen when you're trying to do something. I just realized I have the wrong quote there. Okay, so Imran Hussein, who's Batfleck Forever, he's the guy that sent me that. So yeah, I'm gonna actually have the opportunity to actually get to the actual video somewhere here. God damn it. Now it's gonna take forever. This thing doesn't want to render it up. I didn't realize we were talking so very long. Oh, God. Now I have to find this thing. Sometimes that's how it goes. Bear with me for a minute. Man, talk about... Wow. We had a pretty long discussion. What do you know? Oh, here it is. So this is the actual video on YouTube where Zack Snyder myths. He doesn't understand comic book characters. You can check that out. But that's not what I want to show you. I actually want to show you this. Okay. It's coming up. It's coming up. There's another quote after this. It's taking forever. You know, when you really want to find something that, okay. All right, we got it. Okay, so this is what I really wanted to show you guys about Zack Snyder and what he's talking about concerning violence, all right? So he said, like in Watchmen, which he directed in 2009, Zack Snyder said he wanted to depict the true nature of violence rather than the sanitized, unrealistic version. He says, it's just funny to see people really taking it personally because I made Superman real, you know. I made him feel or made consequences in the world, he said. I felt like it was the same thing in Watchmen. We really wanted to show it wasn't just like they thought, like the PG-13 version where everyone just gets up and they're fine. I really wanted to show that the violence is real. People get killed or hurt, and it's not fun or funny. And to me, if you really pay attention to Zack Snyder's movies, you would realize that Zack Snyder is actually adverse to violence. And just the way how he depicts violence tells you he really doesn't find pleasure in the violence that he actually has to film. And it's really amazing because he's a spectacular visual director. But I truly believe Zack Snyder shines best in emotional moments. When you look at, the emotional moments even of Watchmen, and that actually Watchmen's not a movie that has an abundance of action. If you really pay attention to Watchmen, it doesn't have abundance of action. And also, too, if you pay attention to Man of Steel, it doesn't have abundance of action. To the end of the film, it has a lot of action in the Smallville scene, but for the most part, it doesn't really have abundance of action. And then when you pay attention to Batman v Superman, it's the same thing, right? It's not an action fest. And that's because if you really pay attention, Zack Snyder really likes the delicate things in a story. You look at even the Owls of Ga'Hoole, it's not actionful. When there's action, there's action. And again, the action is very real. Okay? Hold on 1 second. So I'm going to make sure I'm hearing from the right place. Okay, so sometimes the sound travels in such a way that I think I'm hearing a sound inside my house when it's really next door. But nonetheless, so the point is that the action that Zack Snyder shoots and films, it literally has a purpose to it. And in this case, what he's doing in this comic book movie is he's saying, it's, you know, when you see two heroes or a hero and somebody else fighting, everybody always takes it for granted that, you know, the hero wins and the bad guy gets defeated and everything's fine and hunky-dory and gay. You know, there's a lot of porn violence or porn action, should we say. A lot of, you know what I mean by porn violence or porn action, right? There's a lot of buildings exploding and stuff like Avengers, you know, the first Avengers movie, you know, like Iron Man movies. There's no collateral damage in the Iron Man movies. Massive things are getting blown up and it's all fun, and they crack jokes in between, right? You know, you look at Ant-Man and the Wasp, there's no collateral damage in Ant-Man and the Wasp. You know, nobody gets killed or dies while Ant-Man and the Wasp is doing their thing and just destroying places. You know, Spider-Man Homecoming, nobody gets killed and maimed and dies. No, right? Nobody. And again, these comic book movies have been doing these unrealistic things, doing some very dangerous things. If you were to do that in real life, lots of people would die. And so Zack Snyder, he showed the consequence of these things. What would happen if it really happened? And to me, that's a responsible director, because he's showing you it's not funny and it's not fun to see these things. And, you know, I like how BVS kind of follows up on that. And even when a hero is being heroic and saving people and stuff, there can be collateral damage in the process. There can be people who have been damaged, hurt, and bad things can happen in the world. And whereas, you know, when you look at, say, Captain America Civil War, they had the heads of government, you know, trying to pass legislation, which is really aided by Iron Man. And it still feels unreal. It doesn't feel real. It feels like some kind of Hollywood extravaganza, because you're not really seeing the consequence of these things. You're not seeing it on the screen. What you see instead is some woman who lost her son, and they tried to personalize it as a case study instead of having you actually see the horrific event that took place. When you look at the Black Zero event that took place in Metropolis in Man of Steel, it was horrific. It was a horrific event. And that's important for us to see. And Zack Snyder let us see this thing, to see that violence is not good. And that's why even the Wonder Woman movie, which is an anti-war movie, which Zack Snyder wrote the story for, that's why Zack Snyder speaks on the cruelty and the terror of war. Again, Zack Snyder, I don't believe, is somebody who likes to promote violence. And it's so strange that the media was saying how, you know, Zack Snyder seems to relish in the violent acts that he does on his films. And it's so crazy, because that's not what Zack Snyder spends most of his time. It's like these people deliberately flipped the script and decided to paint this guy a certain way. He comes out and actually speaks the opposite of what these people promote. And they can tell there's evil intent by the media. You go and you watch Sucker Punch, and it's absolutely not a misogynistic film. It's the opposite of that, because you may go into that film to try and oogle, and then you realize, I can't oogle, man. This is not what I was expecting. These women kicking men's ass to start with. Second of all, it's an empowerment film for women who are being exploited, and we don't ever see them being exploited, right? We never see them get raped. We never see them getting sexually molested. We don't see that. What we see them fighting back. And so it's very interesting that they would look at Sucker Punch and badmouth it and try to put on it the very thing that they in their hearts want, a masochistic kind of thinking, a sort of misogynistic thinking that they really have in their hearts, and they didn't get satisfied with Sucker Punch. Zack Snyder flipped the script on them and gave them the opposite of what they were lusting after. And so now they try to imply that that's what Zack Snyder was doing, because they are angry that they didn't get their lustful, what they were really wanting in the movie, lustful stuff. And I find that cool that Zack Snyder has sort of clapped back at these people in his movies. He didn't clap back at them outside of the movies. He does his talking in the movie. And so it's just very interesting that they attribute the very things that Zack Snyder himself says the opposite about. They try to attribute that onto him. And if you are someone who is intelligent enough, you will realize once you watch his films that it's the absolute opposite of what they're saying, and that this narrative is literally a narrative to shut up Zack Snyder. They don't want him making movies, folks. They don't want Zack Snyder making movies, because every time he makes a movie, he's saying something. That's why they wanted the DC to shut down, because they realized, oh, this guy's dangerous. This guy's dangerous. Every time he opens his mouth, he's saying something really powerful. And we can't continue business as usual in Hollywood. What do you think the Me Too movement sparks off? Because it's Zack Snyder's story with Wonder Woman and Patty Jenkins. Now, why I said I'm not really, Jeff Johns is a great resource when it comes to comic books, you know, and he can do a comic book very well. But the problem with Jeff Johns is he's a compromised kind of guy. You watch a Krypton, it's compromised, you know. I'm sure the DC TV will be compromised. Pretty sure Aquaman will be compromised, because Jeff Johns, as much as he's a great comic book writer, he's not a director. You know what I'm saying? He's not really a great director. You see what I'm saying? He can stick to comic book movies. Jeff Johns always feel, you know, I get that Jeff Johns always is trying to get a comic book character that is not necessarily, the oomph of the character is not there. What you get is a superficial sort of look at the character. Even when I was looking at Krypton, it's still a superficial look at the character. And he obviously doesn't know about shot angles and those kinds of things, right? And my point anyway is this. Not to discount Jeff Johns, but he's really good at being a resource for comic books. You know, when it comes to stories and stuff, he knows his comic books. He's written comic books, even stuff he's written. You can pull stuff that's based on what he writes and do that. But when it comes to like trying to deal directly and oversee films, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Okay, film is different to comic books. The best Jeff Johns has done so far is the CW, and I'm not interested in that. You know, you look at Green Lantern, it wasn't great. Okay, Superman Returns wasn't great, in my opinion. Right. So when you put Jeff Johns into the driver's seat, you really get something that's dialed down and diluted and kid friendly and just not something that I want. You see, because the deep understanding and realism and the depth of a story and a message for our time, he doesn't know how to pull that off. And clearly he tries to deviate away from what Zack Snyder has been doing. So it's really, you're going to lose a lot of stuff because he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, he can write a good comic book, but when it comes to actually relaying a message in a visual medium with a movement, live action, and that kind, he you know, stick. If you want to even do animation, do your animation, do your CW, but leave the films alone. You know, you just be a resource for films, right? I think that, you know, Zack Snyder should be put in the helm of the DCEU and let him guide the process along, because, like I said before, they're going to learn very quickly. Warner Brothers is going to learn very quickly that if you want to keep your DCEU alive, you're going to need Zack Snyder, the guy who started it moving, who started the chain rolling. You can't just do away with that guy. You do away with him, you do away with the DCEU. They're going to learn that soon. They're going to learn that soon and quickly. All right. And I feel sorry for them, because what's happening already, and this is early in the game, it's happening. This should happen. Let me explain to you guys so you understand where people are starting to try to mobilize people online. That is happening way too early. This is like a couple days after Comic-Con and after the release of Aquaman. This stuff is starting to happen online, where people are actually saying some very dangerous stuff to the DCEU, and I'm not going to repeat it. But the point is, that's way too early for that to be happening, and that's going to gather more steam if the next trailer is anything like that first trailer I saw for Aquaman. All right, Shazam is a character who's funny, but you can't have everybody being funny, and you can't have everybody being compromised. I know you guys, some of you out there have different views, and you're saying, "Oh, well, James, this is James Wan's vision." Now I'm telling you right now, that ain't fully James Wan's vision. That ain't it. And James Wan will say, "Oh no, it's fully my vision." He's supposed to say that. He's the director. He's not going to tell you what's going on in behind the scenes. He's going to do like David Ayer, you know, because he wants to stay employed. He doesn't want to fall out with his employers. Okay, but I'm going to say this right now: that ain't James Wan's vision. You heard it from me. He had something else going on. And I watched at his behind the scenes function, his passion. And I'm saying to you, that is not 100% James Wan right there. He's already compromised and pretty early in the game. And the next trailer, well, we'll see. If I'm wrong, I'll be happy to say I'm wrong. I don't have a problem saying I'm wrong, right? That's what I got to say. Now, with David Sandberg, he's doing a comedy. So that, once it's not way too edgy, Warner Bros. Will be cool. But I know David Sandberg will take some edge and put some edge in that stuff. And I'm telling you, Warner Bros. Will try to file off that edge. And the way how Zack Snyder was clashed for each and everything he presented to them with Man of Steel, everything they questioned because they did not want him to do this and didn't want him to do that. I'm telling you, man, Warner Brothers, they are trying to clash with everything these directors do. They're going to question everything they do. And James Wan's getting filed down right now as we speak. James Wan don't have to tell us anything. He can sing his song, but I already know what's happening. All right. And similarly for David Sandberg, they're gonna get, if he isn't getting filed down right now, he's gonna get filed down before Shazam is released. He's going to get filed down. Where Sandberg want to do something edgy, they're gonna say no. You know. And I even heard Taika Waititi say, like some people were saying, and this is Marvel though, that, you know, it seems as though Kevin Feige wanted him to put in jokes which were unnecessary, where he did not want to put in jokes. And that's interesting because, again, when you're doing films by committee, you have a tough time because now when they do their screenings, and these committees, they go by screenings. They do the screenings, people laugh at certain things. They say, keep it in. Keep that in. They laughed. Good, keep it in. And Taika Waititi was like, no, but creatively that don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, keep it in, keep it in, keep it in. That's the kind of stupidity you have to deal with on a daily basis. Because these people don't know shit about film. Sorry about the curse word. They don't know anything about film, but yet because of their screenings, you know, their test screenings, and people laughed at it, keep it in. It doesn't flow with the story. It doesn't even flow with the character in the story, but keep it in. And that's the kind of stuff you have to deal with on a daily basis when you're making art. You understand what you really want to do. And to be fair to Warner Brothers, they have been doing that with their directors for a while. And usually it's the directors they're not confident in, they start to dabble in, of course. And, you know, yes, they have taken some losses. Blade Runner 2049, for instance, fantastic film. Fantastic film. Will stand the test of time. But it did not do well at the box office. Did it break even? I can't even remember. I'll have to go and see if it flopped or it did break. And that was a fantastic film. They didn't promote it very well, but it was a fantastic film. All right. And I advise anybody go and see that movie. And if you think it's boring, then probably you shouldn't be around me, because, you know, if you think that film was boring, I don't know how you would think so. But if you think it was boring, then you probably shouldn't stay around me. You shouldn't even watch my videos, okay? Don't watch my videos, okay? I don't care if you say you're a DCU fan. Just don't watch my videos. Just leave them alone. Yeah, I'm way too heavy. My videos are boring for you. You know what I mean? Because no, just go away. So I'm saying all of this anyway to say that what I'm seeing already, the reaction to where the DCU is heading, people don't like it. And I'm telling these people, and Warner Bros. Has a history of this. When they try to make things funny and lighten things up too much, what happens in the end is the properties crash. They do not survive because it just doesn't work for them. They can do it for animated films and people will let that slide. You know why? Because the animated films, for the most part, are not grounded in some kind of realism. It's not live action. They try to do that for live action. You know what will succeed? I think if Aquaman doesn't fail, I think Shazam will succeed. Right? If Aquaman flops, Shazam is not going to survive because that means the fan base is saying, we don't like this shit. We don't like these kinds of movies. Stop it with us. We left Marvel to come see something different. Okay? And my point being this. If you're going to do something, all right? If you're going to do something, goddamn, know who your audience is, man. Know who the people are who are paying money for it. Do not just deal with the people who are yes men, who are just saying yes, 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 yes. I love it. I love DCU. No matter what you give us, Warner Brothers, I love DC. Those yes men can cause you to be down the pathway of hell because you have to understand they don't represent most of the people in the DCEU that like the DCEU. They don't just love everything about the DCU. They're not just blind allegiance fanboys. All right? I know some blind allegiance fanboys who they like some shitty ass DC movies, but just because there's a DC logo on it, they love it. And anything that has a Marvel logo on it, they don't like. Right? I am not one of those people. Right? If I see a movie, see, I don't go into movies thinking I'm not tribal. Two, I don't go into a movie with preconceived ideas. I go into the movie to hear what the movie has to say to me. Now, if the movie starts off by trying to crack a joke and it's not funny, I'm going to groan. One. Two, I'm not really promoting a movie that's just about jokes, especially a movie where the characters are not taken seriously. I don't like movies like that unless they're comedies. And even if they are comedies, or even if the movie's adventure comedy, it better have something of worth in it, really good. You know, I was watching some movies today. Again, I usually don't watch a lot of movies, but today I watched, I think, 2 movies. It was a guy who was time jumping, right? It was kind of like a sci-fi-ish movie. He was time jumping to change time because he wanted to save. He had the ability to time jump, change time to save his girlfriend of his childhood years. And man, that thing went south real quick. It was kind of like a horror film. It went south real quick. And in the end, it turned out that his girlfriend, which he ended up breaking up with, and he was with several other ladies, she just went back in time. She found out a way to time jump herself, and she went back in time. Somehow he influenced her, went back in time and started killing off each and every one of them. But she had this mask on her, and she carried this chainsaw kind of looking thing. This not a chainsaw, but a thing with a circular blade. Anyways, man, it was crazy. It was crazy. And in the end, when he time jumped one more time, she trapped him, but she loved him. She was like, psychopathic. She was like a stalker kind of love. So he time jumped again because it seems as though as he's about to die, he time jumps. He time jumped again, and this time he time jumped all the way back to when the building was on fire, and he had to save her. And instead of saving her, he just let her burn inside. he let her burn inside the building, which was crazy as hell. And that's how the story ends. It's a terrible story. And then I saw another movie where this lady who was a cop, and there was this guy who was, he swore to protect her and her daughter, and it ends up that her daughter got murdered. Right? It's a pretty cool story too. And the way how the story ends is kind of crazy as well, because both stories, crazy morality, right? But anyway, let's just go to it. So what happens in the end is, he's going on this chase looking for the killer for 19 freaking years, right? This guy is hunting down the killer because he's guilty that he didn't defend the girl. He didn't protect her because they didn't know who was the killer, right? So he finally hunts down 2 people, and he says, this is the guy. And then the lady turns around and calls him home privately. And she says, no, that's not the guy. I killed him 19 years ago. She said she killed him 19. But it's an interesting story, right? There's a lot. I'm just cutting to the punchline, right? She killed him 19 years ago, right? It turns out, however, and she was saying lay the thing to rest, and she, the actual a lady who was in the attorney's office, and the cop was there. And they was like, you know what? Because what happened was the case was closed, and it was because, see, the guy that they were hunting down, the guy was a witness for the state in a big drug trafficking thing. So the guy, the head guy who wanted to have the guy as a witness, he didn't want nobody touch him. So they closed down the case and they burned up all the evidence for it. So when the lady realized that, she called him in and said, you know what, man? And she was like, thank you for your service and everything. And don't feel guilty. I want you to release your pain. So he now goes off with this. It's a long story, but the short version of it is he and the state attorney, the lady, he had dated her way back in the day. So it was another thing. It was another storyline going along. You know, the lady was married. He didn't have no affair with her, but it was just interesting that, you know, they still had an attraction to one another and they were working together as well. And it was just very interesting how that dynamic, you know, how they were trying to work out, and, you know, how they kind of regretted separating from one another and going different ways. And so it was kind of something like that going on. And her husband knew about it. And so when he saw them together again, he was like, you know, yeah, you guys work that thing out, work that shit out. And he went upstairs. It was really funny because the husband was really cool. He was a real cool dude. And she really liked him, the husband, but it was like she still had that kind of thing. And so they was kind of talking and stuff because she had avoided him for a while. So it was all that other stuff going on in the story. I don't know if you guys are following what I'm saying, but anyway, at the end of the story, this is what happened. The guy, when they realized the case is pretty much closed, right? The guy says, you know what, I think I'm going to go back to the house and check out the lady whose daughter got killed because she said she admitted she had killed the guy. So he goes back to the home. And he sees the lady. He's just quietly seeing the lady going. She's walking away to a building, you know, on the outer edge of the house, right? I don't know what the name of the movie is. She goes into this place. So he's following her. He follows her quietly. She's not aware he's following her, right? Because he's a cop. She's a cop too. And she gets inside this room. So he goes inside, he eases inside the room as well. And he sees her. She's like, she has food or something on a plate. And she takes that plate and pushes it under a place with bars. And somebody's hand comes out and reaches the food, right? And when he goes into the room and he looks, there's the guy that murdered the girl 19 freaking years ago, folks. It's a crazy movie, man. And this woman, she's feeding him. In other words, she decided death is just too nice for you. I'm going to prison your ass for 19 freaking years. When he sees that, he can't believe it. Now the case is closed and everything, you know, and the attorney, the state attorney, she's already closing off the case. She doesn't know that the guy is still alive. This woman had him as a prisoner, man. She said that was just too nice for you. And the guy comes up with beard and stuff and can barely talk and spit's coming out of his mouth and stuff. And he's trying to talk to the guy about, you know, tell her please something or some kind of thing. Because the guy's miserable and stuff. And he's like, you know, he can't even walk properly and shit. 19 freaking years you in bars? God damn. Anyway, so the guy, he cocks his gun. The cop, he cocks his gun. And we don't know if he's going to shoot the woman. He don't know if he's going to shoot the guy. And he takes the gun and he puts it down for the woman to see. And he walks out. And he gets a shovel and he starts to dig. And she comes out behind him calling his name. And he doesn't listen to her. He's just shoveling away. And she gets the memo, and you hear the gunshot. Pow! You know she kills him, right? And then she gets up and she walks back to the house, and she's inside. And then we see the guy as he's still shoveling, right? He looks up and he sees her by the window because he can feel her watching him by the window. She's watching him intently. And he looks at her, and then she kind of slightly smiles, and you could see the pain on her face, you know. And then you could see like a relief come over her. And he just keeps on shoveling, man. Because, god damn. Two things I learned about that story. That story was intense. Yes, there's morality issues, obviously. But two things I learned about that story. In trying to punish someone and get exact revenge, you're actually punishing yourself. That woman, she aged like crazy. If you see how old that lady looked. And she was still a cop, right? And she was aged, man. And then the other thing that was very interesting about her, after she had shot the guy was miserable. So the guy was in intense torture. And like killing him was like taking him out of his misery. And it's like this movie pushed the boundaries of ethics in a way, because it was like that was like a mercy killing. Like, dude was messed up, you know, could barely walk and everything. And so the guy saw it and he was like, and the woman looked like she was suffering too. It was crazy, man. It was just a crazy film. And I thought about it and I was like, gosh darn it, man. What was the logical answer? And that's what I guess the question is, the movie's asking you, what was the logical way for this to end? Was this to kill the guy? Was it to come out in the open and try and show that the case should have been reopened? You know, what was the answer there? So again, they went with a lie, kind of like the nihilistic movie or Watchmen. They went with a lie. Okay, fine, she killed him, right? And since the case is closed, it doesn't really matter. Bury his ass in front of the yard and just end the story, right? It's a nihilistic way of ending, which is not based on truth. But nonetheless, I found it a very interesting movie. And these are the kinds of movies I'm talking about. These movies open us up for discussion. I don't know the name of the movie. I didn't get to see the beginning of the movie, but I've seen it twice, actually, and always the ending. I can remember, I never remember how the movie ends. So it was very interesting to see the ending of the movie. And I was like, yeah, right. Maybe you guys know what movie I'm talking about. It was with a black guy. He's one of the main protagonists. And the other woman she's Queen Atlanta from Aquaman. I forgot what her name is. She was playing the state attorney. So it was very interesting. It was a very, very intriguing story in so many ways. It asks questions of various things, and then it's a very intimate story. It's more of a drama, thriller drama again. And these are the kinds of films I like. Okay. Of course, I told you guys about Training Day as well. I saw Training Day. I think it was this morning. So you know, that's the kind of stuff that I kind of look at. Let's see here. Where are we? Woo! We got some people talking up in here, and I don't even know that. Okay. So Giovanni de Adario says, Kristen Stewart probably could play Batgirl movie. Dude, I haven't reached that far. I haven't even reached far about the Batgirl movie. I'm still stuck on Batman. I want Matt Reeves to do the Batman movie, but it's like, I just don't think Warner Brothers is interested in that right now. Dave Ethan, it's only rumors so far, Giovanni. Marcel Music says, evening to you, my Marcel Music, and shout out to you, Giovanni de Adario. Shout out to you, man. Giovanni de Adario says, Snyder, hooray. Giovanni Adario says, does the fire going to be burning 100% until they release the Snyder Cut? Whoa, I'm pushing hard for the Snyder Cut, man. I really am pushing hard. And there's been like a ton of information that's been released about the Snyder Cut, showing that cut was pretty much finished. It's like a lot of that film was finished, and a lot of finished footage, and Joss Whedon kind of reshot over some of the footage to sort of shorten it down. So it's really crazy that there is really a Snyder Cut, and it's pretty much a finished Snyder Cut. There would be reshoots that would have to have been done and some post-production work, but Zack Snyder was actually satisfied with that cut in terms of what he wanted to put out. So it's crazy how much Warner Brothers really messed up on that one. Let me come out of the screen share for a minute. Yeah, you guys can see me now, right? So I'm going to just come out of screen share because I'm pretty sure this will show the side stuff. Yeah. Oh, I want to show you guys something on Twitter as well. I don't know what it was I wanted to show you guys on Twitter. I forgot what it was, so forget about that. Just forget that thought. Okay, let's see here. Giovanni de Adaria says, woo! A fight scene between Shazam and Superman. Woo! Oh, that'd be interesting. I mean, Shazam got strength like Superman, and we've seen it in comic books, but I'm not ready for that right now. John Wonder! Whoa! Whoa! What's up, bro? Been a long time. Can you provide evidence that James Wan compromised? Oh, he's compromised? You mean, can I provide evidence that James Wan is compromised? Well, I can provide evidence, yes. But it's still going to be like circumstantial. But I just want to show you guys something. So if you look at the first Aquaman logo that you ever saw of Aquaman, which Warner Brothers actually put out, and then if you go to James Wan and look at his take, when he goes to his take and he clap take. You know what? Let me show you. Let me not talk about it. Let me just show you. So what I'll do, hold on a second. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about so you guys can see. What the hell? What's this doing in there? Put that back up. All right, cool. It's not. Let me. All right. I got the stuff here. All right. So hold on. Let me just go to screen share and show you guys what I have. All right, I'm back at screen share. You guys can see that? Can you see everything? You guys are seeing what I'm seeing? All right. So let me show you guys this. So can you see this? Can you see that? So this was day one of the shooting, but all throughout, and you know, if you go and you look at various posts that James Wan had, he had this as the original Aquaman logo. In fact, let me show you something else. I can show you so much stuff. I can show you so much stuff. Let's start. See, this was the original Aquaman logo. Hold on a second. Let me put it into something bigger and better. All right. Hold on a second. Okay. Okay. There you go. So here, James Wan. If I was zooming right here, he has his company was Ahab Films, right? And if you look here, which is the Aquaman trident and everything, this is the logo. Now you can say, oh, he could have changed the design a little bit later on, right? Oh, yeah, that's true. That could be possible. But here's the thing, man. Here's the thing that I want to show you guys. So the new Aquaman logo released by WB on James Wan's set. This is actually WB released this, and then James Wan also confirmed this. And this was the original logo for Aquaman. Have a good look at that. And below is the new logo, and it's lighter and it's brighter, right? Okay, I just had to go use the toilet. Now that in and of itself would mean nothing, except this has precedence. This has precedence. Justice League. When Justice League's first trailer came out, you had a darker presentation of the Justice League logo, and later on we had a brighter and lighter Justice League presentation of the logo. Suicide Squad. The initial logo for Suicide Squad was that above that you see there, and then it had a lighter and brighter Suicide Squad logo. Do you dig it? Maybe it's just circumstantial evidence. Maybe I'm being circumstantial. Right? I'll show you some more. Hold on a second. So, in the Aquaman trailer, you had this scene that you see here, which is two-dimensional. And this, I had to reply to a certain gentleman who was telling me that the Aquaman movie and the Shazam movie is nothing like Marvel. I said they are Marvelizing the movies, and they said this is nothing like Marvel. Okay. So let me show you why I say they are marvelizing the MCU movies. I don't like really talking too much about this, John King, but because you asked it, otherwise I would never have presented this information at all. I was only presenting this information to a guy who said he was in denial. And so, other people who have been in, for instance, Justice League Unite group on Facebook understand that they are marvelizing. And they said, yes, of course they're marvelizing. We can see that. And again, I'm not necessarily saying that people who like Marvel and DC, okay, would feel this is terrible. They wouldn't, okay? It's a comic book movie. So, and Marvel is doing well. So why not copy their style, right? So I understand why Warner Brothers would want to go in that direction, but they are, I think, excluding people like myself who do not like that, right? I don't like that you would Marvelize a movie. So, anywho, Industrial Light and Magic is one of the contributors to how the look of this film is coming across. Clearly, I realize that now. And their trademark is in the way how things look. And I cite Thor Ragnarok of 2017. And not only do I cite the look of the film being similar to Thor Ragnarok, but the shot that is given here is similar to Thor Ragnarok. And it's just a simple inversion of what happened in Thor Ragnarok, specifically in the scene in Thor Ragnarok when Thor is returning to Asgard in a ship with Valkyrie and the Hulk. So if I want me to zoom in and actually show you this in much more detail, I can go ahead and forensically show you. But I don't really particularly want to circulate this because then it could lead to some problems. So I'm not really circulating this, but this is just to answer you, John King, because you asked for it. So I'm going to provide that information to you. Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to get out. So if you look above here, there is a ship. And Aquaman and Mera just jumped from this ship into the ocean. Aquaman's holding a sort of lighting flare thing. And they've dived into the water. And all of these beasts, these underwater, deep water creatures, you know their particular names. I can't remember their particular names. Also started to converge and dive down with them. What's interesting about Aquaman is we get the same 2D image, but this time it's an inversion where this is Thor. In Thor Ragnarok, where Thor in his ship here is rising up to meet Asgard. It's a 2D view. Now, instead of all these creatures forming this V formation here, now it's just an inversion of Asgard, which they're coming up towards. And so they're ascending in a ship, whereas here Aquaman and Mera were leaving a ship and descending to Atlantis. Atlantis was down there. Thor is ascending to Asgard. All right. Now, if you look at the CG in both cases, they look inorganic. What do I mean by inorganic? This does not look like the sea. This looks like Jello, right? It looks sort of animated, kind of like the Hulk and all those things we saw in Thor Ragnarok, kind of like what you saw in Infinity War as well. It's not grounded in realism, all right? It's a 2D image, okay? So the sea here looks like Jello in water, and the animals coming down here look like cartoons. People say the imagery looks beautiful, but it is not. It reminds me of Guardians of the Galaxy as well. All right. In fact, all of the CG that I saw in Aquaman reminds me of Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, that kind of imagery, because James Wan is using a digital camera versus film. I think he's using a digital camera. I think maybe he's not. I don't know. But the look is still not refined. So you can tell when you're going to Atlantis, you can tell that's a CG world. And there's lots of pink in there. I just don't like the pink. It just really affects my eyes. And they just keep on bringing back that pink look. I don't know why. And yes, I know Lucasfilms is responsible for the Star Wars Clone Wars franchise, which is coming back, by the way, which is awesome. But even then, it's much more the Star Wars Clone Wars. As much as it's a CG character, you can see it, the block formation. It's much more organic in the ambience. That is, the water is much more cloudy. And I'm saying, yes, we know the CG is incomplete here, but James Wan is using it as a promotional tool now, so that I'm sure they will improve their CG. But still, when I looked at some of the stills with Aquaman or Aquaman's father, or not Aquaman's father, but the King of the Sea using his trident to control the waves, in a still photo. What's going on here? Yes, in a still photo, it looked like Thor Ragnarok in design. So this is just two pieces of evidence I'm using here. There's several I have, but I just decided to use these two just to show you forensically what I see, okay? And why it looks like they're approaching this thing from a Marvel perspective. When they're not using CG, it does look more real, except for one scene with the lighthouse when I think Atlanta and Aquaman's father, I'm almost calling him Thor. I don't know why I want to call him Thor, but Aquaman's father were in the lighthouse looking out at the ocean with a sort of lighted background. That looked fake as hell. But the other part where, you know, we saw the lighthouse near the sea felt very organic. Again, there's a difference between an organic, real look and a fake look. I can tell. It's like when you see Aquaman in Justice League, you can tell the real scenes and you can tell the fake scenes. You can tell when Aquaman is in front of a green screen, for instance, and he's just some kind of water pool or something. You can tell the difference. And it's kind of pretty clear, again, in Aquaman. You can literally see. In fact, the final scene where, you know, you saw all of the sharks and stuff moving into the sea against these kind of big lobster-looking creatures, that looked fake as hell. Like I can tell you how fake it felt. It just felt super, super fake. And so I was like taken out of it immediately. And generally with the Zack Snyder film, I'm not taken out of it because it feels very real. And the reason is because Zack Snyder uses film, for one, and two, the other reason is Zack Snyder is very picky and particular how he puts together his images and his shots so that most of the time they look real. Or even if he's accentuating super speed or whatever, he's really good at doing that. Now, I'm not saying that James Wan had to be like Zack Snyder in terms of how he shoots his action and stuff. That's not what I'm saying at all. And he can go with this look if he wants to. But my point is, it takes me out of the film when I know this is just a bunch of CG. And I can pretty much tell that. And for every Marvel film, it's the same thing. With Marvel films, I can tell it's CG. Like, psh, he's like, they're very obvious with it. Like the Hulk looks like CG, you know what I mean? And so it kind of takes me out of a film as well. And then Marvel doesn't treat their characters with respect. And then I see that here also in Aquaman, where Aquaman wasn't treated with the respect that I expected. You know, Mira was kind of insulting him, and it's not my cup of tea, you know? And so the Marvel-ish sort of formula I see creeping up in these films, and I really particularly don't care for Marvel like that. Now, some of you are okay with that. I am not. Okay, I did not watch comic book movies because they were Marvel comic book movies. I was not. I don't. You know, if it was a cartoon, maybe I'd let it slide. But you know, this is live action, and I just you know, if you give the character respect and you still pull off the comedy, you know, there was comedy, for instance, in Wonder Woman, right? But Wonder Woman was treated with respect. It was still Marvelish to some degree. You know, they had a little Marvel done, but again, it was more situational humor. It wasn't, you know, a kind of insult. You know, Whedon is known for insulting people in his humor. But Patty Jenkins pulled off humor without insulting anyone. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's like you can tell when a director is taking their time to craft something, and when again a studio jumps in and says, no, we need this joke right here. You know, you can tell, man. You could just tell, and you could tell James Wan is like, because you tell, you listen to James Wan depict his film, and he's very meticulous how he says certain things. It's like, if you go and watch Ezra Miller's account of The Flash before Joss Whedon had anything to do with the film, he was talking about quantum physics and how the Flash is able to interweave his particles between things. And then after Whedon took over, Ezra Miller gets super simple with the Flash, and he's taking, the Flash just simply, for him, it just kind of like slows down time. He just went super simplistic on the Flash. And we know Flash is a nerd. We know that, Zack Snyder had all this stuff with Nikola Tesla in there. And we expected a nerdy Flash, funny Flash, but nerdy Flash. We got funny, but we didn't get nerdy. You know what I'm saying? We got some kind of nerdy. And I'm telling you, they diluting down the films. When you get studio interference into films, people who never made a film in their damn life talking about what they want, it's very frustrating. And you could tell James Wan was very meticulous about what he wanted for Aquaman. And all of a sudden, we get something like this. I'm just saying. So that's why I say that. Because I see a trend. What happened with Suicide Squad? What happened with Justice League? Now I'm seeing it with Aquaman. So that's why I said that. All right? I hope that answers your question. I have several other pieces of evidence, but I don't want to go there. I don't want to just spend all the time talking about that. All right, so where are you guys at? Okay. Giovanni Diarra says, your videos are dope, bro. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Mr. Weber says, DC Stucks. Okay. Dave Ethan, I got to go now. Talk to y'all later. Yeah. Go Film says, hey. Go Film says, do you prefer DC over Marvel? Go Film says, I hate Spider-Man CGI and MCU. It looks like a plasticine. Dude, I don't want to laugh. I shouldn't laugh for that, but I'm not really here to trash the MCU. I try to talk about things that I love, Go Films, just so you understand. Obviously, I prefer the DCEU over any other cinematic universe right now, which would be Marvel, even the Monsterverse, which is going to have Godzilla out there, King of the Monsters or whatever. That is looking kind of interesting, right? I'm not really interested in Godzilla like that, but it actually got my interest when they talked about releasing all these creatures from the sea. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, pretty much the DCEU was my haven. That was the place where, I could look at the films and actually enjoy them. You know what I mean? But well, you know how it is. You know how it is out here. Nothing lasts forever. So, it was good while it lasted. I just had to go and check out Split next year. And I heard New Mutants, they might remove New Mutants. If Disney gets control over Fox, Marvel, we may not have New Mutants next year, which would suck. Like majorly suck. Like I lost it when Imran Hossein told me that on Facebook. I literally lost it. I was like, no. Then I started cursing and all kinds of crazy things. I really lost it, man. I was angry. I was saying F Disney and all kinds of crazy stuff. Because like there are only 2 films for me to look forward to next year. And that is New Mutants and Split. Sorry, not Split. Glass. That's my only salvation. This year, I don't care about Venom. This year was supposed to be Aquaman. And I'm like, I'm not hyped for Aquaman right now. Next year, those are the 2 films I'm really digging, man. New Mutants and Glass. That's what I got to look forward to be honest with you. Not interested in nothing else. And some people will be like, man, what are you talking about, man? There's WW84, there's Shazam next year, there's Aquaman this year. I'm like, not interested. Like, and that was hurt a lot of people, but it's like, well, I'm not interested right now. It doesn't make me hype for them. Really doesn't. And you got to understand. That's why I try to explain to people. You need somebody in this universe to keep its integrity. And they gave Zack Snyder the boot. They don't want him involved in the universe. Now, Patty Jenkins wants to have him there. They just kicked Zack Snyder out of the universe. I'm like, that's the stupidest piece of shit you guys have ever do. Dude, that's stupid as hell. Like, goddamn, y'all are really stupid. The guy who got you guys to finally successfully not only get a universe, but finally successfully get a DC film of Superman off the ground. You're going to give him the jack. You're going to give him the boot. Really? Well, all right then. Let's see what happens. They don't understand. They just don't get it. Right? So, good luck. That's how I put it. you know, and people don't like what I say. Well, fine. I mean, what can I say? What can I say? You know, bon voyage, Warner Brothers. I wish you well. That's all I gotta say, man. I can't force them to do something that they don't want to do. So I wish them the best. I really do. But at present, I'm not enthused about what they are offering. I'll just put it that way and leave that alone. And that's how I feel about it. So, you know, and I'm not enthused about what the MCU has to offer because, first of all, they hit us with Thor Ragnarok, and then they hit us with Infinity War, two of the worst Marvel movies I've ever seen in my life. I'm not interested in anything Marvel has to offer right now. They did redeem themselves with Black Panther. I'll give them that. Guardians of the Galaxy last year literally made me crack up. Now they kicked out James Gunn. I'm not interested. What do I have? The guys who actually put out a film, they actually put out films that I actually was interested in. Looks like Marvel's giving them the boot. So I'm getting the feeling that these companies are all about basically getting rid of the people who are really good and really made them get somewhere, right? That's what I'm getting, because I could not understand for the life of me how you can kick a director off of your filmmaking roster for something he said 9 freaking years ago. I just don't get that at all. That's just ridiculously dumb. Okay. And then, you know, I hear people talking about, oh, he's a rapist or he's a pedophile, and they're starting to allege he's a pedophile. How is he a pedophile for making jokes about kids? Seriously, like seriously, 9 years ago, and he doesn't do it anymore. So how's he a pedophile? Like, I'm trying to understand, you know. So it's these kind of things which I just don't get. You know, some things I just don't get. Now, the guy who's accusing him of saying rape and pedophilia things, he literally believes that rape is acceptable. All right. The guy who accused him of that, the guy that started this whole thing on social media. And what's so weird about that is everybody trusts that guy's opinion. I mean, this is immense hypocrisy. You can't get more hypocritical than this. So, yeah, I'm glad people are rallying behind James Gunn because, quite frankly, I don't think James Gunn deserves what he's getting. I don't think it at all. And again, a lot of people are partisan. So because, you know, DC and it's DC versus Marvel, all of a sudden James Gunn is a pedophile. He's not. You can't prove that. Can't prove he's a pedophile. Now he made statements about kids getting molested or something, and it was in the form of a joke, maybe a bad joke, but it was a joke. You can go with that. But at the end of the day, we have to look at the context in which he said it, first of all. And then second of all, we have to ask ourselves, have you or I said something worse than that? Right? Because the very guy that's accusing him is saying some things which should get that guy in prison for what he's saying. But we're looking at James Gunn and he's losing his job over that. Are you serious? And James Gunn seems to be cool with it. He's like, look, man, Disney, if you want to fire me for that, you know what? Bon voyage. I believe the true story is that James Gunn creatively had a difference with Disney. That's what I truly believe happened. And they wanted to fire his ass. And they didn't want to just fire his ass. They wanted to make sure he get dirt on him. And James Gunn understands the game. And he's like, all right, see you later. Don't have to work with you no more. James Gunn. I like him. I don't know why, but I like him. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point is, at the end of the day, the guy has repented of what he said. He really seriously apologized for it, and he's not going down that road anymore. Whereas Roseanne Barr continues to do what she does and said what she say, and she's repeated it throughout her time. And some other people like Donald Trump, who are not being held accountable for what they say, not even now. So that's the hypocrisy of the situation. And it's what it is. It is what it is. But I'm just saying it's hypocritical. So at the end of the day, yeah, man, go films. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I know you're not here to bash the DCEU, but in private, sometimes I end up making jokes about the MCU, which is not cool either. But sometimes with people, I'm just like, I just make fun of the MCU, which is not fun. It's not right. But I say, you know what's funny about it? I say, here's the real joke. Like, some of the jokes in the MCU, they like to make a lot of jokes. And what's the funny thing? If I were to do something like that, MCU fanboys would get all but hurt and they would just be like attacking me and stuff. If I was to do to the MCU what they tried to do to the DCU, they would get so butthurt because it'll be 100% true. I wouldn't do it though. It's not right. And especially for people who love something, you don't need to bitter the water with them. You don't have to bash them and make fun of them. You know what I mean? And what they love. So I don't do that. Yeah. So again, I just wanted to point out these things. There's a lot of information. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm APGM42 on Twitter. I release a lot of stuff on the Release the Snyder Cut. You guys can also type in hashtag Release the Snyder Cut on Twitter, and you can see all the updates and stuff there. I also put up stuff on Justice League Unite concerning Justice League, and there's a lot of footage now being leaked daily. So if Warner Brothers doesn't want to give the Snyder Cut, no problem. We'll just get it anyway. So it's in Warner Brothers' best interest to monetize that. Otherwise, it's going to be free. It's going to be free all over the internet. And we'll all see the Snyder Cut for free. And so that's why, you see, Warner Brothers, they so stupid, man. Like, they're really stupid, man. They could have monetized this, made a ton of money off of it. You know what I'm saying? They're stupid. All around, they're stupid because they're hurting themselves by withholding the Snyder Cut. And believe you me, all of the Snyder Cut will eventually leak online. And then Warner Brothers with their stupid self is going to say, okay, we're gonna make the Snyder Cut for you now. We're going to release the Snyder Cut. Like jerks, like real idiots, when you can just release the thing now. Pledge to the people now. But there you are, twiddling your thumbs. Okay, twiddle your thumbs. And you know what's the funny thing? Every time something's released, they try to clamp down on that place, and they try to get it removed from online and sue this place and sue that. You can't hold down the Snyder Cut. If people want to leak it, they're going to leak it. There's nothing you can do about that, Warner Brothers. So why don't you make an announcement tomorrow? Make it now while you have the time, Warner Brothers, to release this time. Because here's the two things going to happen. You're showing that when you don't release the Snyder Cut, what you're showing us is two things. One, Warner Brothers, you're showing us that you're going in a direction and you don't want the Snyder Cut to harass it. Fine. That's okay. But the second part is you're being dishonest. You're lying to us. There is no Snyder Cut. Bah. Okay, fine. And then when we show that there is one and we expose you for your lying, there are two things that happen coming out of that. We can't trust you no more. So nobody's trusting you. And two, you're going to look bad. And guess what's going to happen? And it's already happening. And that's my concern. You have people who are saying boycott. Oh, let me stop it. But I'm just saying, there are people who are talking about that now because you didn't release the Snyder Cut. And you could have prevented all of this from happening by simply announcing, okay, we're going to release the Snyder Cut. So the damage that you thought the Snyder Cut would cause if you released it is actually small compared to the damage that's going to happen when it actually is released without your permission. Not only that, but here's the other thing. So the Snyder Cut will be released, but the next thing that's going to be damaging is the fact that you are going to now not be looked as trustworthy. You had the chance to build trust with the fans, get back in their favor, and even if you're going the Marvel route, they would actually be with you. and say, you know what? At least they allowed the Snyder Cut to come out. But you didn't do that. And you had the absolute opportunity in San Diego Comic-Con to make that happen. And you had the absolute opportunity to have Zack Snyder there as a mouthpiece. Because if Zack Snyder was there and the Snyder Cut came out, here's the thing that the fans would have said. It's all good, man. Warner Brothers and Zack Snyder, they are ready to do something. And even if Zack Snyder no longer is a part of the DCU moving forward, the fans would have seen you and Zack Snyder are working together on something. But that didn't happen. Instead, Walter Hamada, Tommy Emmerich, Jeff Johns, y'all guys decided we don't want nothing to do with Zack Snyder. Right? You went on your high-handed horse, and then you put out your trailers, and you expect people now to be diverted. Oh, wow, look what DC has next. You're going to flash that little shiny thing in front of their face, and they will get it. And it backfired royally with me, because when I saw the stuff that was supposed to be the thing I anticipated, Aquaman was my most anticipated film for this year. Backfired majorly. You know what I'm saying? You can fool me once, Warner Brothers. You can fool me twice, Warner Brothers. But you ain't gonna fool me a third time. I ain't your fool. I ain't your chump. I'm not. And you can get your media to say everybody's excited about the cut. And you look at the views on YouTube, they're all right, but they ain't great. They ain't Wonder Woman figures. They ain't Justice League figures for how many people interested in the cut. Go watch it online. That should tell you something, Warner Brothers. That should tell you what's really happening on the ground. But I guess you can't take a hint. No, we got to sell toys for the kiddies, man. We need Batman and Robin films again. Bring us back Batman and Robin. Okay. You're going to get your Batman and Robin. Because you're hard-headed and it's stupid. We gave you the advice. We told you what you're supposed to do. And you locked your head in a certain direction and you're going that way. Well, fine. Do it. Just remember one thing. Everything has a consequence to it. Right? So you probably think you're going to get a new fan base. You're going to get Marvel fans coming across, and that will deal with the situation. Maybe you did your little marketing thing and your little schematics and stuff, and you said, okay, Jeff Johns, we're going to push forward with this because we all behind this. This is what we wanted all along. This is what we want. This is what we want. Well, that's what you want. You're going to get what you want. Just remember, everybody don't think like you. And you may be thinking that you're doing the best thing. And the last time you said, yeah, man, Justice League is really on point. We really love what it is. And Justice League major belly flopped. It didn't even get close to $1 billion. Y'all was backing out before it even began. I saw y'all was trying to distance yourself when you realized, oh, shit, we made a major boo-boo. We boo-boo. We major boo-boo because it's inconsistent with your trailers and the promotion that was coming up to it. And Zack tried to do his piece to get, people excited for the film. He was putting out his stuff alongside, trying to get people excited for the film, and it major belly flopped. It wasn't like Zack was against you guys. And it's still major belly flopped. It didn't bomb, but it made. Now, y'all look like y'all want to commit suicide. Y'all want to just castrate the DCEU. So y'all continuing along that direction. You listen to the critics, you listen to the detractors who have not paid a damn cent for your movies. Maybe one or two detractors have. You listen to them, and then guess what? Now you're pushing even further in that direction. It didn't work with Justice League, but you feel because it's a brand new director, it'll work this time. Okay then, Warner Brothers. I warned you. Even I remember warning you also in a caveat. I warned you about what could happen in Justice League. I warned you guys. I was going along with, Elfman and stuff. And then coming down to the end, I was like, God damn. I started to wonder what the hell we going to see. Right? Because y'all was changing up everything on the last minute. Y'all started changing up everything. I started seeing purple shit coming out of there. And I was like, what the hell is this purple stuff? Because I know Zack Snyder ain't had no purple stuff. Then I started seeing green blubby stuff. And the Flash, I remember the trailer. I can't remember what trailer it was. Where the Flash, when he knocked down all the parademons, he looks at the green stuff and says, yuck. And I know that was Joss Whedon right there, okay? We know that was Joss Whedon, right? And the Flash did not bring no Cyborg into there to deal with no mother box. Okay, we know that was Joss Whedon too, and stuff feels weird. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what's going on here, man? What's this? Right now we have evidence that the Flash didn't have that green goopy stuff on him. All right, we have evidence that green goopy stuff was added by Whedon and Company. You know, why? 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 Why take a perfectly good movie and degrade it and then say, oh yeah, we finally got what we wanted? That means you're clueless about how to make a fucking movie. Why don't you? Sorry, I'm cursing again. I don't want to curse. Somebody was like, why are you even trying to do this? You know? Then we find out that Cyborg and his mother had a close bond in just one little deleted scene. We see his mother cheering him on and pride in her heart, and she almost wants to cry, and he looks back at her when he succeeds and the team wins. This left out the... Man, don't let me start cursing. You know what I'm saying? All these deleted clips with Wonder Woman, with Batman. We saw the rooftop scene with Batman. Batman actually talking fear and what he actually said and how he looked scary and everything. I mean, deleted scene after deleted scene is just hitting the floor. And y'all are just sitting there like dummies and you won't release the cut. What are you afraid of? Well, if you are afraid of the cut be released, it's going to be released. You're not going to do one damn thing about it. Now, you can make money with the cut being released, or you can allow it to be released and not make a dime off of it. And now people get it without your permission, and they're going to now badmouth your ass after the cut has come out. And then your Aquaman movie, your Shazam movie, and your Wonder Woman movie will be a thing of the past. So it's up to you, Warner Brothers, if you want to use your brain and get that cut out there so you can do damage control, or it will leak out. All of it. Guaranteed. Okay? And you will not know who leaked it. If I was you, Warner Brothers, I would do the smart thing. And I would jump ahead to make sure you have damage control. And I would make sure and get that cut out there. I also let it be in Zack Snyder's hands. So if he wants to finish it on his own money, he could do so. If he has to pay to use your resources. That's what I would do, Warner Brothers. It's the smart thing to do. Apparently, as much as you guys are qualified, you're not very smart at this. You're not very smart at this. Clearly. Still trying to grow in intelligence. You're listening to the wrong people, Warner Brothers. You're listening to the wrong people. Okay. That's what I got to say. You know? You listen to the wrong folk, man. You got to listen to the people who actually are part of the DCEU. Don't sing no tune to them that they want to hear. Actually, back it up with actions and show us in a film that you mean what you say. So far, everything you say is not trustworthy. You know, Toby Eberick last year said, you know, we're just sprucing up on the film. You know, we're just sprucing up on what Zack Snyder has and finish up loose ends. We learned that y'all wasn't doing that at all, Toby Eberick. You lied. You straight up lied. You lied to us. You're the president or vice president or whatever of Warner Bros. You lied. So we can't, and then the proof is in the pudding now. So we can't trust you. You will sing whatever tune you want to sing. Oh, it's almost 12 o'clock. All right, guys, man. I said what I had to say. And don't boycott the DCEU. If you're not interested in the films going forward, that's a different story. But if you are interested in the movies and films, please go ahead and watch them. Okay? Don't do like some people and try and encourage people not to watch the films. That is stupid. Okay. If you like something and you're interested in something, go see it. All right. Don't let nobody stop you. Okay. It's not like I want the DCU to fall, but I keep on saying these hard statements to Warner Brothers. I hope this film gets to them, this video. I want them to know what they're doing. So when things happen and if bad things happen, I'm trying to do this so that they would avoid problems. That's what I'm trying to do. This is what this message is about. And no matter how many detractors or other idiots come out there and say, oh, they put out the Snyder Cut, they shouldn't have put out the Snyder Cut. Don't listen to them, Warner Brothers. You have to have cojones, man. Walk the line. Because I'm telling you now, you put out the Snyder Cut, it turns out to be fantastic or whatever, people are going to be seated. They're actually going to look at you as, hey, man, they actually put out the Snyder Cut. You actually will win trust among people, which is what you direly need right now, because people are losing trust in you. Okay? So put the Snyder Cut out if you can before Aquaman, no matter how good. You see, the Snyder Cut can do two things. It can either make Aquaman look good or bad, right? This is your problem. I argue it's going to make Aquaman actually look good, because what it does is when you put out the Snyder Cut of Justice League, Aquaman follows Justice League. You put out the Snyder Cut of Justice League with the Aquaman figure. No matter how Aquaman is, it can be rough and crude or whatever. You put that out. Whatever you're going for with Aquaman in this movie does not matter. Okay? Because this will be James Wan's vision as far as you're concerned. I don't know how much is compromised, but it will be James Wan's vision if James Wan determined to own it. Otherwise, you still have a chance and an opportunity now, if you've been influencing James Wan in his film and you've been affecting his film, to let James Wan do what James Wan do. Let James Wan do what James Wan. So all I'm saying to you, Warner Brothers, I don't even know why you guys even get involved with directors and their films like that. You know, I expect the process to be there and screening and all of that, but man, James Wan, let James Wan do what James Wan does. And after James Wan is finished, which he was finished a long time ago with principal photography, if James Wan wants to do X, Y, and Z, let him do it. That's all I say. I mean, it's really common sense that no matter what it is you think you're going for, Warner Brothers, you think you're going for, you have to understand that your fan base, the audience, expects a certain thing. They expect a James Wan film. They don't expect that James Wan interfered with Warner Brothers film. By Warner Brothers. You have to understand that. Okay? We want a James Wan film. That's what we want. Okay? So when you, and I'm saying this just to make sure James Wan is covered, because somebody had to protect James Wan. Okay? Nobody protected Zack Snyder after Christopher Nolan left him. Nobody protected David Ayer. So we have to look out for James Wan. And no matter what James Wan says, what is happening behind the scenes is more important. And we want to make sure that James Wan is protected. Because we know about James Wan's previous movies and how James Wan does his stuff. You see what I'm saying? So we want a James Wan film. Okay? We want a David Ayer Suicide Squad. We don't want what you gave us. We want the David Ayer Suicide Squad. I want you to understand, you have a history with us. We go and we watch the promotion and stuff, and we're all amped up, and then we go to the film and you give us something else. Because you feel it must be this way, and it mustn't be too graphic, and it mustn't be too this, and it mustn't be too that. You don't decide that. Let the director decide that. That's not for you to decide. So stop it. You hired a director to do that. And when you try to backtrack on what the director's doing and compromise what he's doing, you get this. You get a lashback. Suicide Squad was supposed to make a ton of money. It was a highly interesting film. Interest was off the roof, and you ended up with $700 million. When you could have gotten more if you just let the director do what he do. Don't worry about the backlash of BVS, but you can't. You're so stupid. The people who are backlashing BVS, the people who backlashed BVS, most of those people who were speaking in their loudest mouths and they were the minority anyway. These people didn't pay to see BVS. The critics that backlashed it didn't pay to see BVS. They got to see for free. The people who pay to go see BVS, they're talking about BVS today, they paid, they took out of their pocket their monies. Those are the people you should be talking to. And then expanding, let those people advertise your universe for you. I mean, this is common sense. And I defended Suicide Squad, BVS, and Wonder Woman. Didn't watch it much, but I defended it, you know, for what it was. I still think it's better than the extended cut. It's better than the extended cut. All right. And I said you guys got it right with Suicide Squad interfering. But you apparently what David Ayer actually had in mind never really came. It never really came to fruition. So stupid, man. Why? Man, why? I don't understand. Like, you do the stupidest things I've ever seen, Warner Brothers. You cut out some of the best scenes in the movie, and then you give us what? And you ask yourself, what is wrong with these people? Do they even understand what movies are about? You know, I just don't understand it. Like, nothing makes sense unless somebody's sabotaging the stuff. I don't understand. Somebody inside is sabotaging. Somebody's a mole or something. What the hell is going on? What kind of reasoning is that? Y'all don't watch movies? What the hell is wrong with your people? You know, you should be left scratching your head like, why did they leave that out again? I don't understand. This is like an important piece of the movie. Yes, it's a short piece. It's important. Or a scene which the action is just off the charts, and you're like, why do you leave that out in the movie again? You know, even in the Batman warehouse scene in BVS, Batman does some other crazy shit that was left out of BVS. You know, and you can see it in the behind the scenes footage, and you can see it sometimes in the trailers, you know, that was left out in the movie. And again, BVS had some crazy action, right? But my point is anyway, that sometimes I just don't understand what Warner Brothers is doing. I honestly just don't get it. I really don't. And this is one of the moves again that just makes no damn sense. Like, if you are an audience fan, you'll be left scratching your head saying, why they don't want the Snyder Cut to come out again? And they will give the reason. Their logic is, well, because we don't want, you know, the other the other DCEU movies that are going in this sort of slant, this tone to follow through with what Justice League has. So we wanted to make it move like that. And I'm like, okay, now, did you ask your audience base if this is the way they want to go? Or are you listening to the critics and detractors who are finally coming on board? Is that it? So you are willing to embrace the critics and detractors to lose your audience that is paying to see your movies? Like, I try to connect the logic here. It doesn't make you're asking yourself, who is the idiot suggesting these things inside of Warner Brothers? Like, you have a fantastic setup here, and then you just kind of throw it all away with the most stupidest of notions. Like, I don't understand. You're trying to win over the critics and lose your audience. I'm trying to understand it. I just don't get it. You know, it just doesn't make no damn sense, man. Anyways, whatever, man. Whatever. Let me just see what you guys are saying in the chat section before I go. WB is stubborn. Yeah, they absolutely are stubborn, man. They've been for decades. For decades, they've been trying to sell toys and make money, and they constantly think that the director to boost the universe is what they need, and then they go their own direction. And it's like, I just don't understand it. I'm like trying to understand it, and I just don't understand it. Go Films. Wasn't there a scene of Batman fighting Killer Croc in Suicide Squad, but WB cut it out? That's very possible, my brother. That is very possible. Yeah, it's very possible. Oh, God, man. Dude, Goat Films, man. You just be wondering, man. Somebody smoking weed up in there. That's some good weed. You know what I'm saying? That has to be some good weed, man, because I just don't get it, man. Some things just don't make no sense. Do you like the Dark Knight movies? Not particularly, bro. Not particularly. I find them dry and boring. I think the best one is The Dark Knight, pretty much. Everything else is just long and boring and dry, you know. So, will you do a stream tomorrow as well? Possibly in the nighttime. Possibly in the nighttime, I'll do a stream, not in the daytime. I'm gonna be busy working during the daytime, but you never know. It's how I feel. But man, I don't understand WB, man. They have me like, I'll be like asking myself, what were you thinking? Who is making these decisions on behalf of the executives? Like, it's some crazy ass stupid executives who they just like, no, it must be in this time frame. It needs to be in this time frame. And I'm like, dumbass. First of all, you need to have a movie, you know, something to go with. And you guys keep on chopping down the movies, and I just don't understand why you would do something like that. And they're like, what are the risk factors? If it's longer, you just never know. It might be, people might just not go to see it at all. It might be just too dreary for them and too heavy for them. I'm like, nobody might flow better. So actually, you know, when you chop up a movie and it doesn't seem to fit, things don't fit together, it actually gets you out of the movie, and then it can feel longer than a movie that actually flows, you know, like light bulb. I guess not. Okay, go on then. Oh, we need to go the MCU route. Much more laughs and much more action. And then, you know, okay. They've been successful with their model. So we have MCU Part 2, I guess. We must have MCU Part 2, ladies and gentlemen. All right. The WB style. MCU Part 2. Like, think. Like, you know, like, think. Like, use your brain. If you try to copy the MCU and do what they do, nobody's going to watch you because they already have the MCU. What separates you from the MCU? Nothing. Okay. So how are you going to make money? Well, we'll write off the MCU and we'll make the money today. Such stupid thinking. Like, nobody's going to go watch MCU Part 2. Nobody. Not me. I ain't going to do it. So that's what I'm trying to tell about WB, and they just don't get it. They don't get it after so many years of failure after failure. They're still trying to do the same thing. And you wonder, you know, you just wonder to yourself, you say to yourself, man, these people are so stupid. They don't realize what they have in their hands. They're going to just continue to mess it up. Gold Film says, I like the darker tone of the first couple of DCU movies. You know, a lot of people talk about darker tone, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think it's not about being dark and gritty. For me, it's just simply taking your characters seriously. Taking your characters seriously. So you can be funny. You can be light. Shazam is a funny, light character. But there's things, if you cross that line of, you know, making Shazam just the butt of every single joke, you cross the line. And so to me, it's not about how light a film is or how dark a film is. It's about how much you respect the character you're portraying on the screen. And again, we began with a sort of realism. So we expect that grounded realism to flow straight through the DCEU. We don't expect you to take that realism now and say, okay, now we're going to go full fantasy. No. Don't just, come on, man. The tone is set. So you're going to be in a realistic world. So stick with that, you know, and that's all I ask. And if you want to bend reality through that prism, fine. But you can't just go straight into fantasy. And the problem with that is, and that's what they don't understand. Marvel is known for its fantasy. They say it's grounded in realism, but it's not. So you can't just gibberish your way into fantasy, right? Which is what Marvel has already set that tone, so that, you know, they kind of start off kind of scientific and then they just kind of go into Guptiga. They're not really serious about what they're saying, and the universe doesn't take itself seriously. With the DCEU, it takes itself seriously, which means you got to do homework. You got to do your research. And even when you want to go into comical ways and you want to go lighter, there's nothing wrong with that. But just understand, you better do your homework first. You see? It's about doing the groundwork, doing a lot of homework before you step up to the table and do something. So, you know, they amped it up as if Aquaman was going to be this never before seen world. And, you know, you're going to have this never before seen. I've seen that world before. I've seen it in the Clone Wars, man. And it was better. To me, it was better executed than what I'm seeing so far in the trailer. So I'm not amped about it. I was like, come on, man. You're showing me what Zack Snyder showed me in Justice League. I was more amped for than what I saw in James Wan's Aquaman. I'm not excited. It's like almost every MCU film. The design looks the same, you know. And I just am not excited about it. Not excited. You know, I know these are fake sharks. I know this is a fake thing. Everything's too fucking shiny. I mean, it's just not real. It's like you go full hardcore into fantasy all of a sudden. We were all into reality, and all of a sudden we just made a quantum leap into fantasy. I'm not into that shit, you know. I'm going to watch your streams from now on, lol. I'm visiting my brother's place with Wi-Fi, but since you're streaming, I'm going to stay here with Wi-Fi instead of going home with no Wi-Fi. Hey, man, no. Let me leave you alone, man. You need to go home and sleep, bro. Let me go in my bed. Hey, man, it was nice talking to you guys. Go Films. Dave Ethan. Mr. Webhead 11 said DC sucks. Hey, man, come on, man. Come on, man. Don't do that. Giovanni Daria. You're okay. John Wonder. Man, it was nice to see you, John Wonder. Marcel Music. You guys are cool, man. We're having a discussion here, but again, make it no mistake. I am not against Warner Brothers. I want to see these films do well. And I'm just hoping that Warner Brothers would listen to what folk be saying. You know, you got to listen, Warner Brothers. You're not listening, okay? Folk be telling you something because we don't want this scenario to go down. We do not want Aquaman to flop at the box office, all right? Don't want that to happen. And every single sign that we're seeing from the fan base, especially certain vicious, malicious fans, is an intention to try to attack your movie again from within. We can't have that happening again. And the only way that we're going to keep that from happening is you have to be able to smooth the waters with these fans. And most of them that are doing this are Snyder Cut fans. They shut down Justice League before, and they're going to try to shut down Aquaman. You guys got to be smart, and Aquaman will suffer, okay? Because you got to understand these people are also your core base. They are your clientele. They are your customers. These are the people that give you good word of mouth to keep that thing surviving. You don't need the critics' good word of mouth. You don't need the detractors' good word of mouth. You need these fans' good word of mouth. And if these fans are talking bad about you, you're dead before it even begins. You're committing suicide, Warner Brothers, by getting these fans ticked off because they're your life source. They're the guys who go to cinema time and time again and watch your movies. They're the ones that pay for you. You get them ticked off, you are killing off your universe. And that's what they don't get. And you need to understand this, Warner Brothers. I've been trying to stress this over and over. You don't want to be ticking off these fans. You don't just appease them with words saying this we're going to do, Walter Hamada, Tony Emmerich. You can't just be telling them that shit. They're not going to buy it because they don't trust you no more. You said that about Justice League. You said that about Suicide Squad. And you turned up to do the opposite. So the fans are not going to trust you. What they trust is a good, the first thing you can do to annihilate, to try to say, to bring down this situation is release the Snyder Cut in good faith. You think it's going to hurt your films going forward. I guarantee you, if you do not release that cut, it will hurt your films worse going forward than you ever imagined. It could kill off your universe. So if I were you, Warner Brothers, I would release the Snyder Cut, because one way or the other, it's going to be released. You could either monetize that release, or you could end up seeing it released all over social media, and people get super bitter and they even attack you further. Because when they see what Zack Snyder actually did compared to what you got for Justice League and what we're getting with the upcoming movies, they're going to really get ticked off. And then a lot of them are just not going to go see your movie. So if you are smart, Warner Brothers, this is how I'm spelling it out again for you, so you understand how serious this is. You would release the Snyder Cut, monetize it so you make some money off of it. And on top of that, if I were you, I would get Zack Snyder somehow in some way involved with this universe so he says something of some kind about it, because that's the only way your PR is going to actually help you to put something into place. If he doesn't feel like saying anything about it, so be it. You're still on your own, but you have a very, very bad situation on your hands, and there's nothing the directors can really do to protect that. You have to cover for them right now, and the only way you're going to do that is if the Snyder Cut is released. That will start to appease some of these ravenous fans. And then after they go berserk for a while, they'll calm down, and then they'll be willing to see what you have coming up next. So the sooner you release the Snyder Cut, the sooner you actually avert the situation that is coming to. And trust me, we are how many months away from December? August, September, October, November. We are 4 months away from December. You have more than 4 months to make this thing happen. And the sooner you move, the better for you, because it gives a bigger gap between Aquaman. James Wan, thankfully, it was a director that Zack Snyder is anxious and anticipates wanting to see what Aquaman will be. So Zack Snyder's invested in James Wan. So you get Zack Snyder to say something about Aquaman or anything about it, he's interested in Aquaman or he's excited about it. You get Zack Snyder to say something about Aquaman, you are in good faith. But let me just say this. The fate of your DCEU is dependent on Aquaman. It is. You made that situation become so. It wasn't that situation before, but now it is. And the reason that is so is because the fans have gotten wise to the fact that you've done what you did before. You did it with Zack Snyder with BVS. You did it with Suicide Squad and David Ayer. Then you came back and did it again with Zack Snyder. And I would not be surprised, even though Patty Jenkins said X, Y, and Z about our creative team, that you did it with Patty Jenkins as well. And people said Patty Jenkins is fierce, so she fought for what she wanted. But at the end of the day, regardless of what Patty Jenkins says, you've been constantly doing this. You've been shooting yourself in the foot, Warner Brothers. You have nobody to blame if you don't address this issue with the Snyder Cut people, and you don't address this issue with somebody to sort of help smooth the waters for Aquaman, a transition to Aquaman. Because right now, it's getting worse and worse the longer you delay this. All right? And the longer you are hard-headed is the longer the DCU will fall. And here's the thing. Y'all think that the DC TV will make it? If the DCU falls, DC TV will fall. And after DC TV falls, then your CW will fall. And so will Krypton. I guarantee you that. You have a certain clientele that watch the CW, no doubt about it. But if you want to see everything crash and burn, just keep on messing around. Keep on messing around, right? It'll all come tumbling down. Everything. So if I was you, I wouldn't mess with the name Zack Snyder, period. That's a dangerous name to mess around with. Okay? Once you hear Zack Snyder, you make sure you got your T's and I's crossed, because you double-crossed him more than once, about 3 times in his career. You double-crossed him with Watchmen. You double-crossed him with Batman v Superman. And now you've double-crossed him with Justice League. All right? Ain't nobody taking it no more. Okay? And then you double-crossed David Ayer. Okay? So if I was you, Warner Brothers, I would seriously think about getting that Snyder Cut out. And not only that, I would seriously also think about trying to get something transition, some smooth transition where somebody, maybe Zack Snyder or somebody credible who people can trust, would actually say something, just something honest on the upcoming Aquaman film. That's what you need. You need something like that because the damage is getting worse and worse daily. And fans ain't not going to wait on you. They're going to get that Snyder cut. They're going to get it. Okay? One way or the other. And they don't care about ethics because you're not being ethical to them. You set the standard. If you were ethical to them, they would be ethical to you. So they don't care. And they will break every single boundary, every single limit until they get the Snyder cut in their hands. And they don't care. So what I'm trying to tell you is, as much as some of the people who are pushing for the Snyder cut are civil, we got some people who are not. And unfortunately, a mob-like mentality can erupt at any time. And then fuel that with the media who love that kind of stuff, you know, I want to see some of them in the media want to see the DCU fall. Ships. You looking at, you looking at trouble, man. Trouble. Anyways, man, I gotta go. So I'm trying to send out this warning to Warner Brothers. Just trying to get to them. I'm hoping that they will listen, you know, because I see what's happening. Don't look too good. And y'all think y'all have the media behind you. You think you have, sir? Ain't nobody in this business that vouches for nobody. Nobody that's loyal in this business. I realize that already. They'll pretend like they're with you, but if they see the ship going down and burning and they know they can get their clickbait, man, they're gonna just forsake the shit. It don't matter how much you try to, you know, lull them in and court them and stuff. They don't give a damn about you. You can pour money on them. Even they don't care a damn about you. They can get clickbait. They will go with it. Okay, because that's what they did with Justice League. You look at the critics. The critics didn't even give you a fresh score. They gave you 40%. Y'all need to learn. But you don't learn. So you will learn one way or the other, Warner Brothers. You will learn one way or the other. But you messing with the wrong thing, man. That's all I gotta say. You messing with the wrong thing. This is not a topic or subject to mess with, man. Guys, I'm going. Peace.